coming to you live from Clubhouse BFD. It's a beautiful Wednesday night, about 11:15 at night, and this is Clubhouse Weekly. Got a special edition for you today with my co-host Anthony Johnson. I am David Robinson. We're going to be doing some mid-season awards today. Going to do our normal, do our Week 6 recap, do our Week 7 predictions, and maybe a couple new features this week that for you guys to enjoy. So Anthony, we say we go right into Week 6 recap.
Yeah, it sounds good to me. We're just going to go straight into it here, guys. We got Random Chick Amanda versus the Get Money team of Tony. Go ahead.
I think Tony's team ran out of magic this week. We've kind of been talking about how Tony's been overachieving week in and week out, and this week he just ran into a buzzsaw because Random Chick goes for $130.
You know what? And that's something that we thought we may start seeing out of Random Chick as she starts finding those spots in her lineup that she was missing. It's definitely unfortunate. We've talked about Tony being our favorite going in and out of weeks, watching him go over prediction, and this week you really saw where his team lays. And
Right. We talked about how he relies so heavily on Peyton Manning. Really relying on Peyton to really put up like 35 points a week for him to have a chance to win. This week, Peyton falls well short of that, as predicted on Clubhouse Weekly last week. Peyton puts up 21 points. I think my colleague here predicted he'd put up like 22?
22, yeah.
Yeah, so right on the dot with that. Good job there. Any other bright spots on Tony's team? Anywhere else that we can look to rely on for the future?
Yeah, Detroit's defense.
Oh.
And that's the perfect space to have because relying on a defense to pull most of your weight in any game is going to be really tough. So Tony's got some work to do this year.
Yeah, I agree. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Some of the things that we think that Tony might need to do as we do our mid-season recap. As far as Amanda goes, like we said, we kind of went over the trade last week that she made with you picking up those receivers, and they pay off for her this week.
Definitely.
Deshaun Jackson goes off for a big score, I believe. She's got Mohamed Sanu. He's really developing into a fantasy must-start.
Yeah, he's a breakout wide receiver that you see more and more people picking up in every league.
Yeah.
And I think me picking him up earlier in the season before like a lot of people were really now shining for her.
Right.
He went on. He really did just go
off.
off.
Another thing, I see Andre Johnson. There's a fantasy, just a stud in years past that we would rely on for points week in and week out, and really hasn't been doing that for her yet this season. But this past week, he gets a decent game in.
Yeah, you look at her wide receiving core this week, and he got 16, 21, and 19 points. That's what you want to look for.
Right, and we've talked in the past about how we like our running backs, Marshawn Lynch, Le'Veon Bell, two of my favorites. Talked about that before on the show. Really, her lineup's starting to look like maybe one of those teams that's playoff ready, despite her record at 2-4. I think this is one of the teams, like we've said, that we're going to find in the playoffs come week 14. And then one other thing that we're going to get a little bit more in depth on later, though, she does start Joe Flacco this week, which she has to love. Joe Flacco throws 5 touchdown passes in the first 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah, and then we talk about Joe Flacco. We don't like him personally.
No.
But it was the last minute start for her over Cam Newton, which we'll get into later.
Yeah, we'll get a little bit more in depth with that later when we go through some of our mid-season awards. But really, what is that, a 55-point victory? Really, this game was over before it started. And, going forward, Tony's definitely has some work to do. Tony, we know you're a fan of the show. You need to start watching, every single week. And, really, we're pulling for you. We want you to do well.
We want you to do well. And, it's unfortunate. Tony looked like maybe he was handling some injuries this past week, and now has more injuries on top of that. As we saw Stephen Ridley out with an MCL and an ACL tear, and won't be coming back the rest of the year.
Really, not to dwell on it too much, I want to get moving on with this, but when I look at his starting lineup there, I really only see maybe three solid fantasy players. I like Golden State, I like Peyton Manning, and I obviously like Antonio Gates, but outside of that,
you really got to work. You got to find something.
You're digging. So let's move on to the next matchup.
All right, let's see what we got here. Looks like we're going into Emily Shy, Bitches Love Cheese team versus Suzanne and her Roger Freely squad. Bitches Love Cheese. Obviously, we've been talking about how she's the Rookie of the Year this year. Pulls off another win this week. Goes to 5-1. Remains in that 3-way tie at the top at 5-1 with Jay's team and Shock and Awe. Really, just one thing I like about Emily's team is there's 2 different ways to construct your fantasy team, and I think that a lot of people will find that everybody's always looking for that big fantasy stud that's going to go 30, 40 points a week, and I've got to have 2 running backs, 3 receivers. Everybody's got to put up huge numbers. Really, grinding out wins is a great way to go. If you end up putting up 100+ points every week, you're going to win more than you lose.
Exactly.
You know, and Emily hasn't run into too many buzzsaws this year where anybody's really beaten her when she's performed and put up points. This week she gets a big game out of Julius Thomas. Julius Thomas puts up a score for her. Monday Night Football, huge for her. Colin Kaepernick puts up huge numbers. And we talked about this. It's kind of something that she needs to rely on a weekly basis. I think that's kind of her barometer. As Colin Kaepernick goes, so does Emily's team.
Yeah.
You know, she's got Michael Crabtree on the bench this week. I think she started Kendall Wright instead. He only puts up 1 point, something she's probably going to look to in the future. Maybe look to start Crabtree every week as that San Francisco passing attack comes around.
That's definitely something she'll have to look at.
Let's see, last week, LaShawn McCoy. We've talked about McCoy.
Oh, yeah, and I think we something we said was that he was going to make that breakout game.
And he does. He does. The Giants really didn't put up much of an effort. I don't know if you caught much of that Monday night game. I hope you didn't, because it was really quite
one-sided.
Yeah.
But I mean, of course, I saw the whole thing. I'm a dedicated.
Oh, right. So did I. I watched the whole thing too. I mean, it was quite a snoozer though. But it was nice to see for McCoy owners to see LaShawn get the touches, do something with him. He really didn't. It wasn't a lot of the side to side, just more straight up the field.
And that's something that we weren't seeing out of McCoy. We saw him try to do a lot of footwork, and it wasn't working out for him. Now he's just driving through guys, and I think that's what he's going to have to do to get things done.
Absolutely. Doesn't really, gets a decent day out of Andre Ellington. Another kind of fantasy sleeper at the beginning of the year. I don't think a lot of people knew about Andre Ellington. Emily picks him up, 4th, 5th round draft pick, and he's really just been a double-digit performer for every single week.
Game, yeah.
Really not much equity missed on the bench. I don't really think that she's dealt with much trouble this week. Maybe a decision here, decision there, but she's got a little bit of depth at wide receiver and at running back.
Right.
Something that she might look to trade some of that depth away as she solidifies her roster.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely, as you said, she's looking really good this season, and definitely a playoff-ready team.
All right, Anthony, give me something about Suzanne.
Suzanne. What to say about Suzanne here? I think she's struggling to find her rhythm. She can't really. She's got Aaron Rodgers, great quarterback. But what else has she got here? She got Randall Cobb, Reggie Wayne. When you're playing, I mean, you got Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton connecting every other pass.
Well,
Reggie Wayne's just kind of.
I kind of feel like Reggie Wayne. There was a lot of speculation going into the season whether or not Reggie Wayne would retain himself. He's out all last season.
Yeah.
He's going to come back and be that number 1 fantasy receiver for the Colts and Andrew Luck. And clearly he's not. T.Y. Hilton is the man over there. Reggie Wayne's touch is way down this season. And that's, just something that I don't know if you can really count on. It was definitely a speculative pick on her part, and it's not paying off for her.
We talked about Pierre Gasson every week. We say it's a must-start. Starts, and
he puts up some numbers for her, but that Washington offense overall is struggling. Like I said, I don't really mind Suzanne's receiving core. Her biggest problem is running back.
Yeah, we got Fred Jackson and
Bobby Rainey. Yeah, I mean we talk about it every week. We're starting to back up there. That means you got problems. Something we'll get into in the midseason in the recap. Kind of looking forward, things that we think some of these players need to do. She's got some value on her team, and she's got to figure out how to get it out there to get back some value at other positions.
She's definitely got to start trying to fill in those starter spots.
Yeah, it's rough. If you're relying on Bobby Rainey, you're relying on the wrong thing. Maybe a bye week plug in here and there you can do it with a guy like that, but you're just not going to get away and win when you're making starts like that.
We're not.
Let's get to the next matchup. I don't see that there's much else to say about Suzanne's team other than I still see her as kind of in that bottom rung.
I honestly, she's struggling right now. If she doesn't figure it out, she's gonna miss the
playoffs. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. What's the next matchup?
Our next matchup is Jay Rome versus Buddy Jay, and this is kind of that matchup that Jay Rome talks a lot, as we saw on the show.
Yeah.
He put a side bet saying that he's going to beat.
Oh, he had a little
Jay's
side action on this one too. I wish I would have got in on that side.
Yeah, me too, because we could have probably walked away with more cash. But we're looking at one of the biggest scores of the season put up by Jay's team.
I believe
and we said that last week that he set the record, and now he's upped himself again.
Here's a guy that drafted well. We've been critical on the show early in the year, but we've definitely come around on Jay's team. Definitely somebody to be reckoned with. He just puts out. He puts out a stud lineup every week. Really, he just 155.13 points this week. Really, this game is over on Thursday Night Football when T.Y. Hilton goes off for 31. Arian Foster puts up 27. This game's over before it starts.
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, you look how many.
This happens on the while Drew Brees is on a bye.
Yeah, and he's starting Carson Palmer, who, yeah.
I mean, it just goes to show you, though, folks. I mean, honestly, if you're out there and you don't have the number 1 quarterback in the league or the number 2 quarterback in the league, it doesn't really matter. If you can fill out those other roster spots and just get points across the board, you can hang a huge number, and that's what Jay did this week.
You know, we talked about T.Y. Hilton. You could just, I mean, his whole team overprojected.
Yeah.
And just did well for him, and that goes back to he hasn't made very many moves.
No, he hasn't. But he drafted well, and I mean that's one thing. I mean, there's a couple ways to approach fantasy. I mean, if you do draft well, I mean, there's sometimes not. It's not necessary to make moves. We talk about waiver wire pickups and trades all the time on the show. I mean, if you drafted well, there may not be any reason to trade. I mean, the only reason that Jay may, have any reason to trade is if he's got some depth on the bench that he can trade away to improve position.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe in his team, in his case, the only thing I could see is maybe he'd look to improve that third receiver position. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big Julian Edelman guy, although New England offense coming around this week.
Yeah,
2 weeks in a row.
We talked about this on the week 3 recap about how we weren't sure where Tom Brady was. And then week 4, week 5 comes, and here he is again. Like, this is the Tom Brady that we know.
They're hanging 40 points a week all of a sudden. New England offensive players, special teams players putting points up all over the board. Steven Gostkowski, 2 weeks in a row, over 15 points. Yeah. Not involved in this matchup, but I think it's worth mentioning. They're just putting up that many points. Yeah. I mean, their kicker is getting him 15 fantasy points a week.
Yeah, and that's definitely something you have to look at. Going over to Jay Rom's team, it looks like he, once again, we talked about that running back position. So many teams are struggling with that right now. And I think this is another instance where if he would have some decent running backs, he could be a playoff team.
Well, here we go again, though. You're right. I mean, I see. Is there anybody who's on his bench? Is there a running back on his bench? Is he missing any value there? Because I see Ahmad Bradshaw starting for him. Ahmad Bradshaw, once again, not the starter. Third down back. A shifty third down back. I don't mind Ahmad Bradshaw's game. I'd love him if he's on my favorite NFL team, but I don't want him starting on my fantasy.
No, definitely. The only running back he's got is Mark Ingram, who is on a bye and injured right now. He's not going to be back for another week or two.
It's definitely another spot. I mean, you got to, if you don't have, I mean, that running back position, if you're putting up, 5 or less fantasy points week in and week out at one of those positions, and really that's what you're doing. I mean, you're putting the flag up and saying, hey, I just can't score at this position. Maybe I'll make it up somewhere else. Some weeks you'll make it up, but it's going to catch up with you.
Yeah, it's definitely, and it looks like it's already starting to catch up with Jay Ron.
Absolutely, I see it there. Frank Gore, been a big disappointment this year, but, that's another thing. I mean, really, everybody kind of was drafting Frank Gore off of his name recognition, but by all signs indicated that San Francisco was going to be splitting up the runs this year.
Definitely.
More so than ever. Frank Gore's going into, I think, his 11th season. Can you believe that already? I mean, there's definitely, there's a lot of miles on those tires.
Yeah, and he's just try to watch him keep trucking. It's
right.
kind of painful right now for fantasy owners.
Absolutely. If somebody's going to get 10, 12 carries a game, he's not going to truck the load like he used to.
Yeah, definitely.
Biggest blowout of the week. Jeremy falls by 60. Well, I can't even have that much. Is that 67 points?
Yeah, I think it is the biggest deficit.
It might be the biggest. I mean, it's the biggest deficit this season. Much props to JC. We'll get a little bit more into that later. Let's get on to the next matchup, though. I mean, really, I don't want to talk about 60-point blowouts too much.
No, definitely. And this is, we're moving into the next one. We got the Dave seeing Daunting Baines and Miles. It looks like champion Zilly Bitch has decided that he wants to win a game.
Awesome. Well, I do have to make a quick commissioner's note. Actually, it's not even a commissioner's note. It's really just a note for our show and our viewers out there. We've decided that the name Daunting Baines is too long. And if the squad was excellent, I would continue. I would if they were at the top of the league, I would still continue to call them Daunting Baines. I think I'm going to give it an abbreviation. I'm just going to call it Team DB. All right. Reason being, if you think about it, folks out there, when you watch the NFL on TV, if it's like they always call the Cowboys the Dallas Cowboys or the Pittsburgh Steelers, all these franchises that are just have all this rich culture, they always use the city name and the nickname. Now when you go to some of the lower echelon teams, when they're talking about the Jaguars, they're just talking about the Jaguars.
They are just the Jaguars.
Just the Jaguars.
Maybe we should start referring to them as just the Jaguars.
Just the Jaguars. I mean, even sorry folks, it's the Lions. I mean, it's
not the Detroit Lions. It's the Lions.
Or it's just the Browns.
Yeah. It's always just the Browns.
It's always just the Browns.
I don't care how well they're doing.
Yeah,
they're just the Browns.
They're still just the Browns. But point being, we still talk about the Washington Redskins, no matter how bad they are. Yeah. But they're rich in culture, and I just don't think that the DB team is very rich in culture. And really, we're 1-5 now, least points in the league. Really, just hasn't made a move. He makes moves. Don't get me wrong.
I mean,
And I can even appreciate some of the angles he's taking in his moves, but he's not hitting on a thing.
no, not at all.
Man, and it's just getting uglier week in and week out. I think I looked at the projections for next week, not to get too far ahead, but I think he's only projected for about 75 points next week.
He'll
Anthony.
probably score below that.
I mean, that's not getting it done.
No, that's
Quick look into Miles' lineup. Yes, the former champion does get a win.
which was a needed one. We
Oh,
said last week
it was
that
a
if
must
he
win.
did not
It
win,
was a must
then
win.
he would probably not make playoffs.
It was a must-win, and he's officially going to be in the in the playoffs. Photobomb from Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic the Hedgehog, everyone.
Woo! Yeah! Not often. I mean, really, we get celebrities on
just
on the
walking
weekly
up.
now. It's
I mean,
excellent.
you
I mean,
can't-
we're really excited
you really
about
can't
that.
beat that.
People just walking in and walking out everywhere. But I mean, really, digging into the numbers for Miles, I don't really. It really kind of just goes that projection, about 4 points below projection. What's up, Dan?
There you go.
Not bad. How are you?
Doing a podcast
Yeah.
on fantasy football.
Yeah.
Cool.
Uh,
Another celebrity.
I know. We have celebrities
Oh,
on.
man.
Dr. Danny Fox.
Danny Fox.
I can give you a little insight.
Well, we might have to do that, Dan. I like that. We look at Miles' team. I mean, really, he picked up Malcolm Floyd, nice decent plug-in for him, and I think that's somebody he's going to hang on to for the rest of the season. One of those San Diego Chargers that we talk highly about.
Yeah, and which he hasn't been starting. He picked him up 2 weeks ago. Should have started him last week. Didn't start him this week. It looks like it's paid off for him.
Yeah, and I think that somebody's probably going to be looking to start again next week. Really, do we have anybody on Miles' bench? Really, what kind of wide receiver depth are we looking at there?
They play better than Floyd.
Yeah, AJ Green.
Yeah, AJ Green was injured for him last week. Remember, he stubbed his toe on his nightstand or something like that.
Yeah, and then,
Wasn't able to play.
That's actually not Malcolm Floyd. It's
Oh, Michael Floyd.
Michael Floyd.
Oh,
He's
Arizona.
got Malcolm Floyd on.
It's
Michael
Malcolm-
Floyd, Arizona.
Yeah.
Which he probably should have started.
Well,
Malcolm
he's
Floyd
better
in San
with
Diego.
Palmer's back now. So.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
Michael Floyd does get his first touchdown reception of the season last week with Carson Palmer. We talked about that last week on Weekly. That we did the show last week on Saturday night, and they still didn't know who was going to start for him. The next day, it was going to be Drew Stanton with concussions, Carson Palmer with nerve damage, or the third string quarterback that I cannot
We
name.
didn't know his name.
Yeah, we don't know his name. He can't throw the ball. I might have said me starting for him. But let's look at the team DB again. This is how desperate this guy has become, and we're starting Tim Wright at tight end. Percy Harvin, there's kind of a bust for him again this week.
I like
0 points.
I like Percy Harvin, but at the same time, look, not even a point.
Well, and we talked about it last week on Weekly. It was one of my bust-out players for the week. I thought for sure after he had those 3 touchdowns called back the week prior that this week they were going to feed him the bell. And really, if you watch that game, when they come out, Seattle's looking to get him the ball on the first couple of drives. Dallas is ready for it, shutting on those bubble screens, not really letting Percy get the ball in space, and really was never able to break out. He ends up with negative yardage for the day and putting up less than 1 point, I believe.
Yeah, that's something that you definitely have to take into account. I actually, you know what, with Percy Harvin, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I think that, he's still a must start. I would start him again next week.
Yeah.
And, I just hope that he has a better day.
Well, Seattle's offense down overall last week. Everybody was coming off of the week, the Monday Night Football domination with Russell Wilson. This week, he doesn't get off the schneid. Really plays a very poor game. He had like 125 yards, throws a pick, not a lot of rushing yardage. Everybody was really high on him. Kind of a coming back to earth game for Russell Wilson, in my opinion.
He's living that high.
I think that's somebody that you're going to be looking to start most weeks. Probably going to play matchups if you have 2 quarterbacks, if you have Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
But, definitely not somebody that's going to be throwing up 25, 30 fantasy points every week.
Yeah, definitely not. Can we just take a minute and talk about Matt Prater real quick? Suspended beginning of the season, 5 games.
Yeah.
Lions have had the worst
trouble
with kickers.
Atrocious.
Matt Prater, a good kicker.
Right.
Like I had him at the beginning of I drafted him.
Yeah, because you didn't know that he was a drunk and wasn't going to play for 6 games.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't look into my kicker. I was paying attention to everything else.
Right.
But
It happened in both my leagues, actually. Both leagues I have players draft Matt Prater, and they both got ridiculed, just like you did.
Yeah, well.
It happens to the best of us.
But you think, all right, Matt Prater, he's had all this time off. He's a good kicker. He's going to do well for the Lions. Scrubs, too.
Oh, I know. You know what? I actually think that they found a real pro there, though. Honestly, I think that the best advice from Matt Prater is that they probably should get him back on the sauce.
Yeah, probably. Get him drinking again. Let him
Well,
go.
yeah, I mean, some of these guys, when they start to go sober and go holy, they really fall off the map.
Yeah. So,
That's what I would do if I was in Allen Park
somebody
right
call
now.
him up.
I'd be feeding them some
He goes,
Sixers or
why don't you
whatever.
come here? We got
Otherwise,
some
you might be kicking for the Lions in a couple weeks.
Hey, I actually thought about it. You know,
Get down there and get to tryouts. Anything else? I mean, do we have anything on Dave's bench? The team DB, does he have anything on his bench? Anything we can look at? Is there any equity we're missing? Because I wish we were missing equity.
No.
Let's move on to
He's
the
got a
next matchup.
Jaguar.
He's got a Jaguar. Let's move on to the next matchup.
Storm Johnson.
He's got a Jaguar, man. Our next matchup is between yourself. Who'd you play last week? Jamie?
I don't think it really matters, does it?
You definitely blew her out.
Team Shockinaw remains in first place at 5-1. Puts up a decent number. Puts up 125, a little over projection for my squad. Overcomes a big night from Andrew Luck on Thursday Night Football. I have to admit, really Luck coming out putting up that big 25-point performance. I thought that maybe we had an upset in the making, but I get nice production once again from Matt Forte. Really, last 2 weeks, fantasy stud.
31 points.
Fun fact for both you gentlemen: who leads the NFL in receptions this year?
Matt Forte.
Matt Forte, 48 receptions on the year for Matt Forte, 2 more than anybody else in the whole league at the running back position. Really, if you're playing in a PPR league, which we're not a full PPR league, but that's 3 receptions is 1 point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just adding and adding to that total, making him just a fantasy stud. He puts up 31 points this week, off of 25 the week before. Decent day out of Antonio Brown. Doesn't get in the end zone, but he puts up 118 yards. Really just a solid, definitely earning that second round status that he had in the draft.
Yeah, definitely.
Jordy Nelson again gets into the end zone. Somebody that Aaron Rodgers seems like they hook up on a big play every week.
Yeah, they got something going on, and that's something that you definitely got to pay attention to.
A little white boy magic or something like that.
I mean, they're definitely like this.
I like it. We talked about it last week on Weekly that the Denver Broncos and New York Jets game would probably be a lot closer than everybody was thinking it would be, and it did end up being so. Fortunately for myself, I start Denver's defense. They get a late touchdown reception off of good old Geno Smith. I mean, you can kind of always count on him
to give you
providing one of those for you.
Defense.
Yeah, every single week. So we thank Geno Smith here from Shocking Up. Ben Tate, another guy that we've talked up on Weekly. Well, hey, if you're going to play a Brown,
he's a Brown.
Yeah, if you play a Brown, that's the one to be playing is Ben Tate.
I mean, I wouldn't play whoever she started over here.
Let's take a look at. Let's take a look at Jamie's lineup. She starts. Who's on a bye for her? I hope somebody. I hope she's got everybody on a bye. Because she starts Andrew Hawkins from the Bengals. Is there some serious bye action? She sat Calvin Benjamin.
Yep.
Oh God.
Yep.
Jamie, that's just a mistake. We talked about it on Weekly. If you're a fan of the show, you would know that. Really, we were talking her up week 3 about how impressed we were that she drafted Benjamin, the rookie out of Florida State.
And then even 2 weeks later, we're talking about Cam Newton in his security blanket, and he has 2 right now.
Yeah,
one of them is Calvin Benjamin.
Yeah, he's got Benjamin, he's got Greg Olsen. That's where he's going. He's not throwing the ball anywhere else.
No. If he's not running,
that's just a must start. Really, that's just looking for magic.
She's also got Larry Fitzgerald on the board.
Yeah,
jeez, that's unbelievable.
First touchdown.
Larry Fitzgerald is honestly, I know that he's been down this year. I know Arizona's had the problem in the passing game. We've talked about that already at nauseum, but still, it's Larry Fitzgerald and it's Andrew Hawkins.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. There's just not really much debate in my mind. I'm gonna. You know what you do when you go to the prom? You dance with the girl you brought.
It's true.
You do, and you take her home too, and you bang her. That's what you do. Yeah. You drafted Larry Fitzgerald for a reason. Early on, you need to be playing him week in and week out.
For instances like this.
Exactly. Well, he's a guy. It's funny. We always look at this, and people will get down about players on a 3-week period, but we look at their numbers at the end of the year. Larry Fitzgerald's probably going to be a 1,000-yard receiver. Yeah. He's probably going to score 7 times. It always averages out. I know Larry Fitzgerald's getting a little long in the tooth. But still, that's a guy that I'm playing every week. What do you think?
I'm the wide receiver. Not that it would have made it that big of a difference, but would have made it.
It could make a huge difference for her. We're talking about playoff seeding. We're talking about tiebreakers here. You need to score every point that you possibly can.
Yeah, you look at it that way.
I guarantee you, when we get to week 13, that we're going to have 4 teams, all in that 7, 6, 6, and 7 range. And it's going to be a tiebreaker. It's going to get you into the playoffs. Yeah. And I think that this is one of the teams that we would both agree probably falls in that bubble squad.
It's definitely on the edge of that bubble right there. And she's definitely got she's kind of down on Brandon Marshall right now. Brandon Marshall did well for this way. I mean, it's not a terrible performance from Brandon Marshall.
No, not at all.
What
do you know? Well, let's get on to the list. Let's get on to the last matchup.
The last matchup is my own game versus Brad Orr.
All right. Well, let's have you expound on that a little bit.
I was really hoping for Brad to have a, how he does his talking and stuff. But this week, maybe the humble came from when he was talking trash with Tony.
Well, I think that his lack of success in our league this year has sobered him.
Yeah, because he just was not. He did not want to say a word. I tried to mix it up with him, tried to get him into it, and he just wasn't buying it.
Really? Well, I mean, he's dealing with some injuries. Obviously, Kelvin Johnson, big loss for him, and big loss for him. Calvin Johnson out till possibly week 10, 11. Now we're talking
at least 2 more weeks. They're talking right now,
and we had talked up Brad's wide receiving core at nauseum. And we love it, but really, he's just not getting the numbers out of him. Alshon Jeffrey does all right last week. He gets a big catch. I think he had about a 74-yard catch. I'm sure Brad would love to see him finish that off and get in the end zone. I think he got tackled about the 5-yard line, and he had a nice little stumble job from about the 20 until the 5. Couldn't get himself over the end zone. We go to start with Kirk Cousins this week. Goes over projection. On that offense, they're going to be playing from behind. He's going to be putting up fantasy points.
And he's going to throw the ball. That's
absolutely.
Exactly what he's doing.
Absolutely. Is there anything else there on Brad's squad that we see? Jason Witten, kind of been a fantasy disappointment this year. I mean, that's somebody that, I've been a fantasy player for quite a while. It's definitely somebody I always like seeing on my squad was Jason Witten on that Cowboys offense. We love the Cowboys offense, but Jason Witten has really not been a huge part of it like he has been in the past.
Because I really think the Cowboys offense kind of changed a little bit. They got DeMarco Murray now just pushing through people.
Well, they are.
And you got Des Bryant, who's bigger than big right now. And I think that's really where Tony Romo's going.
Definitely focusing on the run a little bit more. I think that they're running the ball more than anybody in the NFL right now.
We look at Brad's bench. Once again, Lamar Miller on the bench.
Yeah, who do we have starting? Are we really starting Chris Ivory from the Jets still?
Yeah, still. Which we talked about last week. No Sean Marino's done for the year.
Dead.
So Lamar Miller's going to start every week. You play Lamar Miller.
This is probably, and honestly, I think for the rest of the season, maybe Brad will actually, give us a view and watch the show, but I think that he'll see going throughout the rest of the season. I see this as Lamar Miller this is his time to shine. I think he has to get it done. I think he knows he has to get it done. He's always been sharing carries. He's always not got it done. Really, it's clear for him that he's going to be the guy the rest of the season.
Oh, definitely. Other spots on his bench. Andy Dalton.
Really, when we're talking about, Brad was definitely the person that took the quarterback last, which I have no problem with that strategy, but he really ended up getting a couple of duds. Andy Dalton is not somebody that I would be looking for to be a fantasy starter. There had to be somebody else better out there. Something that, really, I think could weigh him down throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. And then let's switch sides here. Obviously, my running back core carries my team. DeMarco Murray, Giovanni Bernard, every single week just does work. Tony Romo, it was an okay night for him. He did what he had to do to beat Seattle.
Right. Well, we thought me personally, I thought last week on Weekly that the Cowboys were going to struggle a little bit. I think I predicted that all of your Cowboys would go below projection. 2 of them do, but DeMarco Murray picks up the slack for him.
Yeah, and I think that just shows that I think he's going to keep pushing like he is.
Yeah.
I pray to God, that there's no injury on DeMarco Murray because right now, he's really carrying me to these wins.
Speaking of injury, we had a little bit of a scare with Giovanni Bernard. Second half goes out with a shoulder injury.
Really.
Oh, I know he does, and thank goodness he does. But what did you think about that 87-yard touchdown run?
You saw me. What was I doing?
Oh, yeah,
it's like this.
I did a little dirty bird just for you.
That's something he's going to do again and again. He's got the feet work. He's not afraid to plow through people, and he's a small guy. And then when he's gone, he's gone.
His big playability really is unique in the league, in the NFL. I think that's a guy that you're going to see. Probably he's not going to grind it out. I don't think you're going to ever really see him be a guy that's just going to be boom, 4 yards, boom, 4 yards.
Yeah.
But he's going to be a guy that maybe every other week you're going to see a 40-plus yard score.
Yeah, which
we saw last week, and that's something that's going to put you over the top.
Greg Olsen gets in again for a touchdown. I think
he
has scored a touchation every single game this year.
Maybe outside of one. Like I said, Cam Newton, that's his new security blanket. I really think that as it was, we've talked about it before, as it was Steve Smith before, now it's Greg Olson. He's a guy that he's worked with his entire career.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a big white target. He can't miss him out there. And I think that when he gets in trouble, he looks for Greg Olson.
Greg Olson, usually it pays off.
Absolutely. If you got anything going on in your bench,
Yeah, I did kind of miss out. I should, Tom Brady goes big. He scores 4 touchdown passes for over 300 yards.
Right, and I mean that's something in the future. You're definitely probably, I think.
I'll probably start playing the matchups more.
Yeah, exactly. I think Brady kind of got cold there for a while. Romo was the hot hand. It was an easy start for you. Brady puts up big weeks, 2 back-to-back weeks, and now it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, not a bad problem at all to have. And then I obviously would have Justin Forsett and Joink Bell on my bench. Joink Bell coming back this first week does awesome for the Lions. But I'm obviously not going to start either of those over Giovanni Bernard.
Right, but it's some depth that maybe you could make some moves with here before the trade deadline.
Which we'll talk about that later on.
Absolutely. Well, that'll do it for Week 6 recap. Actually, want to do a few midseason awards. Really, we're
already at midseason.
I know. Can you believe it?
Wow.
I mean, we're going into Week 7 NFL. We're October. We're wearing knit caps and fleeces. Soon enough, we'll be wearing mittens when we're doing this show. I can't wait. I'm excited.
I don't wear mittens. I'm a man. I'll wear some gloves.
Okay. Yeah. Well, good to know. I like mittens. And we just want to hand out a few awards here for the midseason recap. The Cleveland Curse Award.
Can I guess who this is going to go to?
Please do.
I'm going to go with Team DB.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It goes to Team DB. To Dave, he gets the Cleveland Curse Award because I believe he's a big Browns fan. We've talked about that a little bit on the show. And just like the Browns in the city of Cleveland, he's not going to win anything this season. Just like the city of Cleveland hasn't won a championship since 1964.
Has it been that long?
Oh, yeah, it's been.
And maybe you should learn to like a different city.
I mean, I would suggest that to all Cleveland fans. Let's see here. Let's move on to the Vanna White Award.
Oh, Vanna White Award. Who is just watching their plays be made for them?
I think it's Suzanne. Suzanne, are you actually running your team? Or are you just doing what Pat Sajak tells you to do? Just turn the letters.
I really think that's all she's doing.
Click here.
I don't even know.
Click there.
I don't even know if she knows she has a team anymore.
Suzanne, I challenge you to post something about your team on our board.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be
I
fun?
would love to hear from her.
Excellent, excellent. The Incomplete Award.
Oh, that's got to go to Jamie.
Has to go to Jamie. We're still up in the air about Jamie's team in all seriousness. Kind of like her roster in some ways, don't like it in other ways. I think she can make some trades and find herself in the playoff race.
Yeah, definitely. I think this next one is probably my favorite award to give, and that's from hero to zero.
Well, I think that's pretty simple. Like, was this past champion silly bitch, Miles Payne, bringing the pain to himself week in and week out. It is. Miles, we still think that you have a chance to make it in the playoffs. You did win. We called it here last week on Weekly that you needed to win this week. Get yourself back into that 2-4 range, so at least you're within shouting distance of that 8th seed. That coveted 8th seed that you'll probably end up facing me in first round of the playoffs.
And losing.
What? He's got to get in. I mean, he's got to figure out a way to get in.
It's gonna come down to the last week and watch him miss it.
Let's go on to the Tough Luck Award.
That's got to go to that random chick in the league.
That random chick, 3rd in points overall in the league, behind only Jay's team and myself. And she finds herself at 2-4.
Now, what place is she in?
She's in 9th, one place out of the playoffs. But I mean,
9th place and 3rd in points.
Yeah, that's tough luck. I mean, we like her team. She's run into some big numbers though.
Yeah,
some close losses. I think she's up to like 640 points.
Yeah, which is.
I mean, so she's averaging whatever 108 points, something like that a week.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so I mean she's not doing too poorly. Just running into some tough luck.
So our next award is the Stubborn Old Man Award. I mean, I think we all know who that's going to go to.
I think that's got to go to Brad Orr, Eat My Dust.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely going to Brad Orr. I think he has not made a waiver move or a trade the whole time. He has stuck with his draft lineup, and we're seeing where that's getting him now.
Yeah, I mean, he's really running into trouble. I mean, for good, I would say the first 3-4 weeks, I really wouldn't have blamed him. I liked his roster as a whole, but he really should be digging for something on the waiver wire. There's been some decent receivers coming off, like we talked about. I mean, somebody like Odell Beckham was somebody, if you were paying attention a few weeks ago, you should have picked him up. Rookie receiver for the Giants. And then you
picked up Eddie Royal when we were talking about
Eddie Royal. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that were just sitting out there that you picked up. Steve Smith was actually undrafted in the league. Another guy that you could have picked up. That's gone now. So there's always value out there in waiver land. And, really, with that solid receiving core, I mean, he could have pulled off a great trade.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Traded one of those top stud receivers for a combination of running back, tight end, a combination of quarterback, tight end, something like that, and improve his roster. But Stubborn Old Man Award goes to
Red Orr.
Let's see, moving on to the Pat Sajak Award. Well, geez, that's pretty easy.
I think we know who we're going to give that one to.
Pat Sajak Award goes to Jay Rome.
Yeah.
For a couple of reasons. Obviously, kind of playing off the Vanna White thing.
Yeah,
but also, Pat Sajak goes through 3 contestants a week, and Jay Rome kind of goes through 3 players
a week.
every week.
Yeah, I'm honestly waiting for him to drop another stud quarterback for me.
He's vicious with his drops.
Tony Romo does bad week 1. He says, nope.
I think we're up to 37 waiver moves.
I wouldn't doubt it.
No,
and we still have what? Tomorrow.
We're
We still got till tomorrow.
Yeah, that's unprecedented in any league I've ever played in. Jay Rome just wheels and deals all the time. He's doing something. I think I don't know.
Maybe he's just an unhappy man.
Maybe, I don't know.
And he just
Pat Sajak Award.
He loves change.
To Jeremy Goodman.
Our next award is the Wild Card Award.
I think it's pretty simple, and I think it's pretty apropos. I mean, that's Santonio.
Yeah, definitely.
San Antonio dragging that get money team, sitting there at 3-3, and really have been Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde all year long. 1 week way over projection, the other week way below projection. A draft that was all over the board that really he was ridiculed for, maligned. Yahoo hated it. A lot of us kind of snickered at it, but he's 3-3.
Then he goes out and wins some games and
knocks off some big players, and really, probably something he's probably gonna have to make some moves to maybe improve his for the rest of the season. But at the time being, in the playoffs at 3-3, Wild Card Award to Tony. Let's see here. We're gonna go with the Donald Trump Award. Donald Trump Award goes to my colleague Anthony Johnson, understanding the art of the deal. Made 3 trades already this season. Definitely tops in the league. I think everybody else has made 1. You've made 3, and it's improved your roster. It's really helped you out when you needed it.
Definitely has helped me win games. So.
Traded away some of that wide receiver depth for a huge receiver.
Yeah.
Traded away. I believe you got a trade for a running back right now for. You got 4
wide receiver.
Yeah, so you solidified a spot that you need, and really, I mean, you've 2-game winning streak. I think you're 4th in points in the league, sitting at 3-3.
Yeah, 4th in the league.
4th, and 4th spot. What's next award?
Our next award is the Rookie of the Year award, and I think that we've called her that every single week.
That's just what we call her, is the Rookie of the Year. It's Emily Scheib. Emily Scheib, 5-1.
Definitely. Yeah,
I don't know.
Enough said.
That's enough said. She's
Enough
5-1. 5-1, first year in the league. First time playing fantasy football.
Yeah, and I'm loving watching her play.
Really puts a solid, what we talked about, solid team out there every week. I don't think she's really going to throw up that 140-point number, but she's over 100 points every week. She makes you beat her.
Yeah, she makes you work for the win.
Yeah.
She's not going to give it to you.
Excellent.
Our next one is...
Ready? I think we got to do this one in unison.
All right, unison.
All right, ready?
1, 2, 3.
The Who is Your Daddy and What Does He Do award goes to Jay's team.
I mean, he shows you who's your daddy every week.
And
you know what he does? He puts up 140 points a week.
I mean, really setting new fantasy records for Clubhouse week in and week out is Jay's team. We really, like I said, I mean, he's made believers out of both of us. Definitely somebody that we see as being a huge threat to win it all.
Yeah, definitely. And our last award is a T1000 award, and that's going to my colleague here. I honestly don't know who's going to stop you, and I think that's why you're getting the award.
Well,
you're winning the league.
I humbly accept that award, but I've played fantasy long enough to understand that really, it's really about the matchup that week and what can happen. I try and put out a solid lineup that's going to score decent points every week. But if I run into a buzzsaw like Jay, I mean, 155 points is something that my team's really not going to put up. So I run into that, so be it. That's the way it is. But I'll tip my cap to him. But like I said, much like Emily's team, I'm going to make you beat me every week. I'm going to probably, put up that 115, 120 points every week, and you're going to have to go out there and beat me.
Sarah Connor. Where's Sarah Connor?
Yes. And then just a quick little, I'm going to do a quick commissioner's note.
Check my phone.
All you folks over there in the kiddie pool, you know who I'm talking to. You're at the bottom of the league. You might be sitting with 1 or 2 decent players. At this time of the year, if you're sitting at 2-4 or 1-5, is a problem. Unless you have extreme circumstances. And you need to look and see who your best player is. And you need to trade him for multiple players to a good team. So that you can fill out some roster spots so that you don't just get your clock cleaned every week because you're relying on Peyton Manning or Aaron Rodgers to score 40 points every week. Get yourself some depth. Round out your squad. That is all from your lifeguard. Now back to fantasy football action. Let's take a look here at week 7.
Yeah, let's move into week 7 here. See what we got this week.
Well, heading into week 7, we have 3 teams at 5-1. We've got a mess and a gaggle at 3-3.
Yeah.
No teams at 4-2. I don't know how that happened. So really, those top 3 teams. I mean, really, I would say that the top 3 teams pretty much clinched playoff spots already.
Oh, I mean, unless they lose every game on the way here on out, but
Yeah.
I don't see that happening.
No, I think that you can pretty safely say that Jay, myself, and Emily's teams are all solidly in the playoffs. And really, we've got a dogfight. We talked about it last week, but we have, one team that is 1-5, right?
Yeah, we have one team at 1-5 right
So
now.
that leaves us teams 4 through 11.
Yeah, we have a lot of 2-4s and a lot of 3-3s
We
right
have
now.
8 teams at 3-3 and 2-4.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a mess. That's why we say, even if you lose, you got to score some points. I mean, really, you should be up on Monday Night Football cheering you guys on. It's going to be a tiebreaker come week 13.
You know? It's something
Our first matchup that we're going to go looking into week 7 is going to be Jay's team versus that Get Money team. Anthony, we love Tony. We really do. We're proud of his enthusiasm. He puts a good effort into it. I think he's just running into a buzzsaw this week.
Yeah, I think he's running into his daddy.
Yeah, I think Jay's going to earn his award this week and put Tony down to sleep real quick. Tony, like we said, like I just made in my notes, I think you need to make some moves. I think trading Peyton Manning would be a good idea. You got to pick up some running backs and a receiver. You could probably get it for somebody who has a lot of depth. Looking over to Jay's team, I think we're going to probably, and that's the thing, Jay's projected to win by like 20,
Already 23 points.
and he's still got Carson Palmer in his lineup. He's going to replace him and put Drew Brees in.
Definitely.
So it's bound to be a rough day.
Yeah, you still got Stephen Ridley and Tony. Drop him. Find somebody on the waiver wire.
Yeah, he's dead too.
Yeah, he's dead. He
He's
died.
dead. He died.
Like
Go
we
pick
saw
up
him.
Brandon Bolden.
Yeah.
Figure out who that is and then pick him up.
Yeah, do that. I mean, hopefully your defense pulls through for you again.
No, that's free advice here. And do we still have? Is he still holding on to like Buffalo and Detroit's defense?
I think so.
Can we just? Should
Let's
we
take a
stop?
look. Oh, look, there's Buffalo's defense.
Maybe we should just stop talking about it. I mean, I don't know. Clearly, Tony is
Still got Rashad Jennings too. Who's now
He's
out
gonna-
for 2 more weeks.
I mean, Rashad's going to be back. He's got to hold on to him. I don't mind that as much. The 2 defense thing I don't get. Teddy Bridgewater, that's just a wasted roster spot.
Especially if you're going to keep Peyton Manning.
Are you going to play Peyton Manning every week, Tony? And if Peyton Manning gets hurt, I mean, you probably can
You can
pack it
pick
in
up Teddy
anyways.
Bridgewater. If
Yeah, you can pack it in anyways if Peyton Manning gets hurt because that's what your whole team relies upon. Tony, I encourage you, get out there on the waiver wire. Find some trades to make. Round out that roster. As far as Jay's team goes, do we see any decisions he might have to make there on the bench?
No, I mean, obviously we said he's going to put Drew Brees back in. Other than that, I mean,
Really, not a whole lot on the
that's it.
bench. And I think that's one thing that Jay's team is vulnerable to is injury. I don't see really him having anybody that's suitable to replace any of his starters.
Yeah, that bench is looking a little rough.
It's light. I mean, and that's fine. I mean, that's a team that I would consider playoff ready. And if this was week 13, I feel a lot better about his roster. But he's got to survive another 7 weeks of the regular season before we get into the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to the next matchup, and this is going to be the game of the week.
Oh, the game of the week and the battle of the Titans right here.
Yeah.
I think 2 of our top 5 scorers in the league. We have Emily Scheib, who's sitting at 5-1, and Random Chick, who's sitting at 2-4. And really just different fortunes these two have had on the season. We talked about it earlier. I think Amanda might even have a couple extra points than Emily. But Amanda's just running into some buzzsaws.
And this could be a buzzsaw for Amanda. We'll see how it happens, but I think this is going to be the closest game we're going to see all season.
Oh, it is. I mean, really, statistically speaking, Yahoo has this pegged at a 50-50 battle. Both teams projected to score 106 points. What do we think here? I mean, does Amanda have any decisions to make? I know. Last week we talked about how Amanda has had tough luck on the season. Another thing that she had tough luck with last season, she makes a controversial decision last week to start Joe Flacco at quarterback.
And you know what we told her? Cam Newton. I stressed last week that Cam Newton's going to start running the ball. And guess what he did last week?
Runs well.
He runs
Scores
the
a
ball.
first rushing touchdown in like 9 games for him.
Yeah, and puts up 35 fantasy points.
The funny thing is, though, she makes the gutsy, ballsy decision to start Joe Flacco. He goes out there, slings 5 touchdown passes, puts up 30-something fantasy points, right? And she's probably at home or wherever she is at work, watching the TV,
I can show you the text message.
doing the dirty bird. She's going nuts. She's doing cartwheels. She's getting all cheerleader about it. And then Cam Newton goes out and puts 2 extra more up there for her.
Yeah, and
So, I mean, at the end of the day, he made the wrong decision. It's just, it's tough
You
luck.
want to score points.
Tough luck. Made the wrong decision.
Other than that, like, I think both lineups are pretty much set. I mean, Emily may make a change or two, but I don't see a change with LaShawn McCoy on
That's the
bye.
one thing that Emily is missing out on this week is LaShawn McCoy on a bye. He had been a disappointment, but he does have a nice game last week. Although, unlike a lot of the other competitors in the league, she has a starting running back just sitting on the bench ready to plug in. Yeah, so she's just Trent Richardson's her bye week plug-in. She plugs him in. She's got Trent Richardson, Andre Ellington starting at the backs. Looks like she did go with Crabtree this week. And I don't know, you watched the Monday night game, right?
Yeah.
Did you see that pattern that Crabtree ran at the end?
Yeah.
He ran like that post.
And then all the way
and then back in.
Back this,
He ran like the post flag post. I mean, and got hit in stride. Looked like the St. Louis defender was like on the ground.
Yeah.
He broke an ankle. He was sitting in the end zone. There was nobody 5 feet away. I mean, he was by himself. It was an amazing pattern.
I think that's something you're going to see out of him more and more.
Well, and I think actually, you know what, I would point to that. I mean, like I said, this is a tight matchup. Could go either way. I would say that if I see Colin Kaepernick throw a touchdown pass to Michael Crabtree, I would go with Emily this week. If that happens, I think that's what you watch for this week. If that happens, then it's a win for Emily. If it doesn't happen, I think that should probably go down.
I think that the biggest problem for Emily right now is, you got Sunday Night Football, San Fran versus Denver at Denver. And
Right.
I think that will be I think that's going to be another low-scoring game for Denver.
You think you're not gonna? No, you think Denver's gonna be low scoring?
No, I think it's going to be close. Okay, it's going to be close. Maybe it'll be,
So you don't think that Denver's gonna? You're saying that San Fran goes into Denver, doesn't get their asses kicked. It's more of a grinded out style.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a nice grounded style game.
All right. I disagree with you there. I think that actually that's a situation where maybe the Broncos put a couple touchdowns up in the first quarter, and you see San Francisco get away from that pound game. We see a lot more of Colin. Yeah, we start seeing Colin Kaepernick outside the pocket making those big throws like he made last week.
Well, I can't wait to find out.
Yeah, let's wait and see. Do we see? Is there any decisions Amanda has to make? I mean,
Joe Flacco or Cam Newton.
It's not really a decision here. Weekly, we don't think that's a decision.
We're going to go over and over again. Cam Newton.
Yeah.
So,
one more time. Give me a double scoop of Cam Newton.
Do it. Other than that, there's no really choices. I mean, she's got a little wide receiver depth, but I wouldn't start either of those over the 3 she has right now.
We're going with Deshaun this week, Sanu, and definitely probably the weaker spot of her lineup. But like I said, I think she had to trade away Des Bryant to get some of those guys and fill out that roster, which she's done. I don't know, Anthony. Which way are you going to go on this game?
I mean, I think I don't know. I might have to flip a coin on this one. Like, it's just that close.
That's what we get paid to do here on Weeklies. We make decisions. Where are you going?
I'm going with random chick.
I'll go with Bitches Love Cheese, on the coin flip. I think that's pretty appropriate. Honestly, that should be a split decision.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a game. I see both these teams scoring a lot of points. I think we could see our number 1 and 2 scores coming out of this game.
Yeah, I look forward to watching.
Absolutely. Move on to the next matchup.
All right, our next matchup is Jerome versus the Hero. Or the Zero, whichever way you want to look at him.
Got Jerome versus Miles Payne, silly bitch, former champion, a.k.a. Hero to Zero. Going into this matchup, I see Miles has been working out there. And, I think maybe Miles is a fan of the show.
Yeah.
And I think that, sometimes you see a champion get beaten down and they're out. I'm starting to feel a little momentum coming on. On the pain train.
I think we finally beat him with a stick enough that he's decided he's going to try to stand up again.
I appreciate it. That's why I like Miles. Miles can take a good ribbon. And
we see that he picks up Sissel Shorts.
Yeah.
Jaguar.
Yeah.
He's playing the Browns.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Nice, decent little bye-week plug in there for
definitely.
him. Michael Floyd.
For Arizona, I would switch it and put Malcolm Floyd in for...
I don't know about that. I like Michael Floyd. I like Michael Floyd. I don't mind when Carson Palmer or Drew Stanton's throwing the ball. So, Michael Floyd is somebody that I actually own in a different league. Follow his stats really closely. I think he's just a freak athlete. You see the catch? I mean, last week he had a touchdown catch.
I thought he was going to die.
It was an incredible catch. That's somebody I'm looking to probably start. If I can start him as a wide receiver 3, I love it. I don't mind starting him as a wide receiver 2 even. He fits in the lineup. But look, we could pick up Brandon Oliver from the Chargers. Great pickup. Miles is paying attention.
Yeah,
He's
that's a
making
good
his
pickup.
roster better. Miles projected to score 106 points this week.
The most he's been projected to score
Exactly,
all year.
in weeks. So Miles is making his roster better. And I think Jerome, through all of his moves, and
I think he just threw away everyone. I think they're on the waiver. You may be able to pick him back up.
I think that he's made his roster. I don't think he's made any better. I do like the pickup of Andre Holmes out of Oakland. Last 2 weeks, big weeks for him. Well, 2 out of the last 3 weeks. They had a bye in there as well. But I mean, somebody that you definitely had to be paying attention to pick up. So that's something that could work out.
You know, and he's got Justin Forsett. He's picking up in a trade off me, so he'll probably start him over Frank Gore this week.
Yeah, I would say that. I think it's definitely time to give up on Frank Gore. There was a trade. We talked about the trade last week, actually, that I made with Jerome. Delaney Walker for Victor Cruz. And to my chagrin, Victor Cruz...
we watched him die.
Yeah, we watched Victor Cruz's kneecap go up through his throat. Which is,
I've never seen a grown man cry on TV.
Did you know it's bad when you see man on cart crying on a football field? Yeah, if he's on your fantasy roster, you should just go straight to your computer and go drop.
Yeah, right now.
Big fan of Victor Cruz. Actually hate to see it because I really like seeing him do that salsa dance. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. When he gets in there, he's like,
dancing. So much fun.
Other than that, let's take a look at the bench real quick, see if there's any missed opportunities here. I mean, Jerome's giving up Wes Welker, which is something we talked about over and over again.
Jimmy Grant actually officially out.
That's for another 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, so that's...
So he has 2
he's got,
Saints
out.
I
mean, that's tough. I mean, that's something that we've talked about before. I mean, he goes Jimmy Graham in the first round. Something that a lot of people wouldn't do. Wouldn't go tight end. I actually didn't mind it at the time. I think
it was good to see.
Yeah, I mean, really, if you see it play out, Jimmy Graham's somebody that's probably going to be 5 points over projection against all other tight ends in the league going into the season. And really, he ends up he hasn't been a performer for him this year, and that's really what's been holding back J-Rome's roster.
Yeah, definitely. Other than that, Nick Foles on a bye. It's unfortunate, but he'll be back. He did pick up Jeremy Hill.
Second string running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. Who cares?
I mean, we talked about Giovanni's shoulder. If he wants to wait for Giovanni to get hurt and hold it, I'm not complaining about him having 3 roster spots
filled with
with something that doesn't
backups,
matter.
People that are sick and out.
Yeah, so that's more players out there.
Jerome, you got to get it. Yeah, I mean, you got to get out there. I think this is another opportunity that another player that I see. I mean, Jerome's sitting at 3-3, I believe, right?
Yeah, he is.
3-3, but I don't think it's a solid 3-3. I think he's one of the weaker 3-3 teams that, if he doesn't pay attention, you've got a team like Random Chick at 2-4. Okay, that's looking to take his spot in the playoffs. We've got, Jamie's team at 2-4, who we claim
to take
who we claim is incomplete. That definitely can make a run at the playoffs. Jerome's got to pay attention. He's got to keep his roster solid, and he's got to keep it fresh, and not fresh by just dropping players. Fresh by maybe taking some of your higher, take that stud that you have and maybe put it for a combination of a couple of players because you need a couple of players.
What we got as a stud here? Just to help him out. Let's see.
Oh, I mean, we could try and fish out one of these quarterbacks over to Brad's team who's struggling at quarterback. Wow. Yeah, that's a little rough. Wow. Yeah.
He doesn't really have any trade fodder.
But you got to try.
You got to
try and at
Steve
least.
Smith Senior. I guess maybe you could pull something out with that. Maybe get a weaker in running back and another receiver for it.
Oh, man, I don't know. It's tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough road to hoe for him. Like I said, I think actually at this point I would say that he'd be one of the teams that would be outside looking in at the end of the season.
Something you'll have to work on.
All right, let's move on to the next matchup.
Our next matchup is BD versus Brad Orr. I don't think we have to spend much time on this. A 1-5 team going against.
Fantasy Pioneer.
Yeah, who's looking? I think this is going to be what. I mean, this will keep Brad locked into the playoffs right now.
Brad needs a win this week. He's been struggling. I think he knocked me off a couple weeks ago, but he's lost the previous two matchups.
Yeah,
since then, really hasn't put up a lot of points. Really having a lot of underperformances. I think Brad needs a win this week.
I mean, it looks like he's finally fixed his roster. He's got starting Lamar Miller.
Excellent.
Great choice.
I like that.
Doesn't look like he's missing very much value on the bench right now, especially because he's got Calvin Johnson injured.
Right. I mean, he's gonna be wasting a roster spot for a few weeks there with Calvin.
Yeah.
Jason Witten, maybe he breaks out of his shell this week. We go over to the DB team.
His best player's on a bye.
Who is his best player?
I'm gonna go.
Jamal Charles, right? Jamal Charles is his best player.
He's him?
Yeah.
Okay,
well, I know he doesn't like starting Jamal Charles.
He
for some
doesn't.
reason. I
He
don't.
likes to sit him on his bench and then watch him score points.
Yeah, exactly. But we have Jamal Charles starting this week, thankfully. And it looks like he's going to be relying on that New York Giants receiving corps. Actually, he receives a huge boost with Victor Cruz going down because he owns Ruben Randall and Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there might be some weeks where he's able to eke out some wins if, they're throwing the ball.
Big.
Yeah, if they go big. I mean, I should probably try and trade him Eli Manning.
No, I'm telling you, he wants Menzel.
I'm surprised he hasn't picked him up.
No, I told you. He's going to wait for someone to trade him. He's like, he doesn't want to do it himself.
He just wants to do it himself. He doesn't want to feel bad about it. Oh, he should pick up Brian Hoyer, honestly. If he really wants to go all Cleveland.
I mean,
come on. He's got one more week on Josh Gordon.
Yeah.
One more week.
One more.
He gets Josh Gordon. He could have Brian Hoyer. He could work out a trade with me for Ben Tate.
And he could have the whole Cleveland.
Dude, he could have the Cleveland Browns starting lineup. He could sit at home with his Browns
Just
jersey
watch
on,
the game.
his dog pound face on, just chilling with, his what are the stickers that you put on the wall?
Oh, the fat heads?
Yeah, he could have his big
He's got his
Cleveland
Johnny Manziel
fat head just sitting behind him, and he could just do the whole little money thing and just love Browns games.
Gordon's out 10.
You could.
Oh, I love it.
He's out 10, not 8.
He's out 10 now? Oh, okay. Well, that's
10.
Well, whatever.
He's always 10.
He's not going to make the DB's not making the
DB,
playoffs.
yeah,
I know. He's got to set his lineup up so that all his fantasy players play for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I'm looking out for Brad to pull out a win here.
Yeah, needless to say, this is definitely something. I see Brad breaking out of his shell this week. He's just too good of a fantasy player. Has too good of a roster to continue to put up mediocre points. I see Brad putting up about 120 points this week.
The next matchup is you versus Suzanne, and I think that this is another one which is a no-brainer.
Well, it's kind of a mismatch. We talked about Suzanne's team, some of her shortcomings. She does have Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb. That'll be a hookup that I'm looking to avoid this week. And if I see, Rodgers and Cobb look up for a couple of touchdowns, I could be in trouble. That's how you lose these type of games.
Yeah.
If you have that multiplier factor where somebody's just feeding somebody else the ball, Cobb and Rodgers just get into a rhythm, and then all of a sudden, you've got Rodgers puts up 30 points and Cobb puts up 25, and then I'm like, wow, then I'm in a hole.
Yep.
That's probably where I'll look. Hopefully, we'll be able to avoid. Like we said, I mean, she's kind of got the old school. If this was a team from 2010, we'd be happy with Reggie Wayne and Pierre Gasson. Somebody that we don't mind starting as a wide receiver 3, but that's who she's relying on really to chug the mail for. Jordan Cameron, actually, tight end for the Cleveland Browns, has his first good week this season last week.
She should try to trade him to DB, maybe pick up something else.
He doesn't have a tight end. Oh, maybe. Who knows? But, who's she going to trade him for? You don't have anybody to trade him for.
That's true.
I mean, really, we haven't been telling DB to make trades. We don't have anybody worth trading for. We traded away Doug Martin, Vincent Jackson.
Yeah, we talked about that week 3 on our recap.
Well, that's when we defined what trade rape was.
Trade rape.
Yeah.
Which is what, Dave?
What I did.
You did?
Yeah. It's trade rape. I mean, it was offered to me. And if somebody offers it, they didn't say no.
Take it.
Yeah.
Looks like you got Vincent Jackson on a bye, Doug Martin on a bye.
Oh, we're still talking about this matchup. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. We might as well. I mean, it looks like she got an empty roster spot. Also,
well, that's always fun.
We'll stop right there.
I'm dealing with Vincent Jackson on a bye. Starting Brandon LaFell, who actually scored a touchdown last week. Waiver wire pick.
Breakout game for LaFell.
Yeah, first big game of the year. I think it's first touchdown of the year. I'm not sure, but definitely somebody that is kind of a boomer bust. We talk about that. We talk about wide receivers and how that's a position that.
So you're not starting Eli Manning this week?
No, I went with Matty Stafford. Eli was kind of I thought maybe Philadelphia, the Giants kind of had a little momentum going. The offense looked good for a couple weeks. Definitely not true. Eli goes for, 6 fantasy points last week.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Stafford doesn't have a great week either. Definitely a position that I probably wouldn't mind improving on. Probably would look to trade some of the depth away at running back, maybe to obtain a quarterback, one of those upper Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning with one of the teams. Fortunately for me, the bad teams have the great quarterbacks. So maybe I am able to trade away a little bit of running back depth, having 4 starting running backs on my roster for somebody like Peyton Manning or Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, definitely. Our last matchup was myself versus Jamie, a team fighting for that bubble spot.
Oh, fighting for a playoff life, and I do see Calvin Benjamin in the lineup.
Yeah, that's great. I would rather her not have put him in the lineup.
Well, let's talk about her roster a little bit more. Some of the bright spots. I mean, really, definitely something I think you have to contend with. Definitely not going to be a rollover this week.
No, I definitely don't think so. It's a pretty solid squad.
There's definitely some guys that put some huge numbers. Torrey Smith last week puts up some decent numbers.
Yeah.
Calvin Benjamin, Eddie Lacy. We still got Matt Asiata. The Vikings defense just got crushed last week. Really didn't put up any numbers, but we're in Buffalo. That Buffalo defense is good. It's going to be tough. I don't think he gets off the ground either this week.
Yeah.
But, he's a starting running back. Somebody that can hit the ball. Somebody that could score a touchdown.
Oh, he's a starting running back.
Yeah, that's always.
Didn't start last week.
It's always the key to getting touchdowns.
That,
I don't know.
It's true. Starters are good.
They're gonna score touchdowns. We still see Larry Fitzgerald on the bench.
Yeah, which is I'm not.
Is Yahoo saying that's what she should do? So her.
So
she's starting Larry Fitzgerald over Torrey Smith, or Torrey Smith over Larry
Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald.
Saying Larry Fitzgerald is going to be where it's at. Which
it's an interesting coaching decision. We'll see if that pays off for her.
Yeah. As far as missed activity on the bench, I changed my lineup a little bit. We have Eddie Royal, who's possibly injured, may not play this week. We'll see coming into Sunday. So I'm going to start Marquise Colston. Maybe I'll start Wes Welker. I did just make that trade.
Yeah.
We talked about how we don't like Wes Welker.
One target last week.
That's true, but I believe that he's going to start.
Game.
I think he's going to start breaking out now. They're playing at home versus San Fran. I don't think Peyton's going to hurt. I just don't see him not throwing the ball.
Never mind having guys in offenses that throw the ball a lot, especially if you're looking at your slot receiver there like Wes Welker. Definitely a wide receiver 3 behind Emmanuel and Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah.
The ball gets around there, and you could definitely. I see Wes Welker having some games this year that are good, having some games that are stinkers this year. But you got to worry about the drug problem.
Now,
have you talked to Wes Welker about his drug problem?
I emailed him, and he got back with me, and he said that he's really still trying to get off of it. But
is that what you want? I think maybe you should mail him some amphetamine.
Well, see, I thought about it, and the fact that he may die from a concussion. This is my prediction.
I think he's
going to put up 25 points this week and die.
As much junk as we talk about Wes Welker on the show here and how he should retire and play golf.
He should, or baseball. Michael Jordan did it.
He should do something else and not get hit in the head every day because clearly it's not working out for him. You should enjoy your money, Wes. We talk about it on weekly after week.
Just buy them all.
So now you're encouraging his reckless behavior.
I think I have to. I was looking at I traded away some wide receiver depth, and just something told me. I woke up one morning. I was like, I got to get Wes Welker on the team.
And of course, you were able to trade with J-Rom.
It's simple. J-Rom did hand me Tony Romo week 2 off the waivers.
Yeah, you didn't even have to give him
I didn't even have to do anything. I just looked on the waiver.
You didn't even give him bubblegum.
No, I dropped Joe Flacco for Tony Romo. I think that's
unbelievable.
Pick of the year.
We'll still talk about that one for the rest of the season. Anthony, like I said, I see this being a close matchup. I think this is something that is probably going to be within 10 points. Definitely something that's going to come down to the last few games. We got any Monday night matchups that we might be looking at?
Let's see here. Looks like all my guys go on Sunday. On Sunday, we will know who wins this game.
Any Sunday nights? I think we got San Francisco and Denver.
Yep. So if I play Wes, we'll have that. And she has. Yeah,
she has the San Francisco defense.
Yeah, so we'll see.
We'll see. That's kind of an interesting start, San Fran defense there.
Which I'm not against because we just talked about Denver maybe putting up 3 touchdowns in the first.
You're not against it, but I think that as a fantasy connoisseur, I'm against it. I think that I do know for the fact that there is some solid equity out there on the waiver wire as far as defense.
I picked up Chicago's defense.
Right. there was 4 defenses on the waiver wire this week that were 9+ points.
Yeah.
3 points above projected what she has, but we'll see what happens.
So that's it for our
that's
week 7 predictions.
Week 7 predictions is over. Do we want to do
start them
sitting?
Do you want to do 1 or 2 positions?
Let's go with quarterback, running back, and wide receiver.
All right. Well, I'm going to start. We'll start off right. I'll start with Matt Stafford.
Matt Stafford.
First New Orleans Saints. I think you said him.
Yeah, I think if you have a better matchup, if you have another option, some players out there are sitting on roster spots where you filled on the bench and you really can't start anybody else. Matt Stafford's somebody that you're probably relying on starting pretty much week in and week out. If you have a better option somewhere to go, definitely something I'd consider. I think Stafford falls in that 15 point range this week.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah. We're going to do 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2
Let's
receivers.
just do one each. You go ahead and throw out a running back or a receiver. What do you want to do?
Receivers, Michael Crabtree. I think in Denver this week, I think Michael Crabtree puts up a huge number. I think if Michael Crabtree scores, I think he gets 70 yards, touchdown, maybe 10 catches. I think he's going to be targeted often. So we're looking at an 18 to 20 point game for Michael Crabtree.
All right.
So definitely a start for Crabtree.
Start for Crabtree. Let's move to the running back position. That's kind of a tough one.
Let's talk about that San Diego Charger, that plug-in Brandon Oliver.
Brandon Oliver.
The Darren Sproles lookalike.
I say start.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you know how I am on San Diego's offense. I love that supercharged go from the start.
Oh, of course you do. And who doesn't? I mean, we love San Diego's offense. We love Phillip Rivers, Antonio Gates. It's Keenan Allen.
Eddie Royal.
I
mean, it's.
I actually, you know what? I honestly, I don't even own a lot of Chargers. I just like watching them play.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
From the get-go.
And Phillip Rivers having a breakout season. Everybody's down on him the last couple of years, like he's some sort of dumpster fire.
Yeah, he's almost in the top.
He's he's resurrecting his career top 5 fantasy quarterback this season.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, if Phillip Rivers, start him. If we didn't say
start
that.
Start him. Okay, well, we did 2 quarterbacks.
All right. Anyways, got some sponsors to thank Anthony.
Oh, definitely.
Where do you want to start off?
I mean, probably start off with the venue here. Clubhouse, BFD, beer, food,
and drinks.
We got it all.
Yeah.
Come on out.
If you haven't been out, you got to get out. I want to thank Wrangler Jeans. I think I haven't gotten to thank Wrangler myself.
Because I always think Wrangler.
I mean, really, comfort where a real man needs it.
What's next? What we got next? We got a few options here.
I think we'll go with Genuine Jockey.
I like Jockey.
Yeah,
I like that. They support
greatness.
And greatness is something to be supported.
Absolutely. And as always, here on Weekly, my favorite sponsor, L&M Cigarettes, because they only taste expensive, folks.
Cheap and taste great.
Good luck, fantasy players. We'll see you next week here on Clubhouse Weekly.
I'm Anthony Johnson.
David Robinson. Good night.
San Diego.
Diego.